Hello, everyone. This is Mike Ronchetti, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner from Indiana with us today. It's my pleasure to welcome Bradyn Melser to the show today. Hello, Brady.
Hi there. How are you doing, Mike?
Fantastic, fantastic. I really appreciate this. So Brady, let's kick this off with giving some background about ourselves, yourself, especially personal background. So tell me about yourself. Tell us a bit about your personal story, where you're born, where you live now, about your family, some hobbies. And again, if you get to a moment you want to smile and throw out a funny story about your family, or how they worked out life, as well as telling about you and what they might say about you, I'd be curious. So just go ahead and give us some background.
Yeah, sure. I was born and raised in South Bend on the South Side. My whole life, I grew up there. I went to Elkhart Christian Academy from elementary school all the way through high school, and had some really deep friendships, meaningful friendships there. Some of my best friends, actually, from high school, we went on to do college together, and so kind of just deepened those friendships. Um, yeah, I grew up playing soccer, sports. Was always really into extreme sports as well. This will probably come up later in the podcast, but I consider myself and my friends consider me having reckless optimism, and so I was always the one trying things that nobody should try, and that's kind of fleshed itself out a little bit more in a different way as an adult in trying different endeavors and in entrepreneurship. But that is kind of a big part of who I am and what I carry into the team. But yeah, met my wife in college. We started working different careers and had a lot of different backgrounds, working in service and sales, lots of different things. And from those experiences, just kind of had an itch to start my own thing, kind of an entrepreneurial drive. So I'd started a marketing company for a little while we were down in Florida, and then kind of closed that chapter of our lives, and we're looking for something else. And I had a brother-in-law in North Africa, and so we took a little vacation to North Africa, got to see what he was doing and see what Tunisia was like. That's ultimately where we end up. But just saw a huge open door for an opportunity there to connect great talent, IT talent specifically, to US companies. And so I came back to the States, talked to my best friends who also were already starting businesses, very entrepreneurial. One of them, I think, has a handful of companies right now, and kind of pitched this idea to be a premier offshoring company, to find top talent and fix all the problems that offshoring has done in the past, and do our best to kind of mitigate those problems and be one of the best competitors in the space. So they bought in, and we moved to Tunisia, North Africa, and started Qore.
And how does Qore spelled?
Qore. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic, fantastic. Well, great. Well, with that background, I mean, obviously, it sounds like your family's in that part of the country also. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I have two brother-in-laws, actually three brother-in-laws there, two from my wife's side and one from my side,
Oh,
my sister and her
fantastic.
husband. Yeah.
And then obviously, right now we're catching you back in the Midwest, so you travel back and forth around the world, I guess.
Yeah. So most of my time is spent there, kind of overseeing the operations and everything. My brother-in-laws also have a part in the company. But then I come back every other year for some time to connect with clients and family and friends.
So all that said, you haven't given me a funny story.
Oh,
Something your family might like to talk about you, or a situation that you got yourself in, and whatever.
yeah. Um, Maybe this is reckless optimism and kind of a daring spirit. But in high school, I had some friends. We were spending the night at our friend's house, and they had just had a science class and said it's impossible to fall straight down without flinching. Like your body will naturally, react and try to catch itself. And I said, no, that's not true. It's just like a mind over matter thing. And I think they kind of knew what they were doing. They're kind of egging me on and said, well, for $15, we bet you can't do it. And so, long story short, in a basement with like the really thin carpet on cement, I decided to fall straight down without flinching. And I did it. But the first thing that hit was my chin, and I got a really massive concussion. And my memory was resetting every 15 seconds for like 3 hours. And
Ooh,
so, that was one of those things, just knew I could do it, but didn't necessarily think through all the consequences or the planning on that side.
well, but you're a few bucks richer, I think.
Yeah. I think I prefer having the spirit of trying rather than not trying.
Sounds like an entrepreneur to me. So good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, so tell us about the business. I mean, how it came about, and at what point did you think you had the confidence that you could actually run your own business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, a big part of it was just the people I connected with in Tunisia. So, when I was over there, I was meeting some of my brother in law's friends and just kind of getting to know the people. And there was a lot of IT students, a lot of IT talent there. And just kind of talking with some of them and their friends, realizing all of their hope was somewhere else. Most of the European countries, France and Germany in particular, recruit really heavily for people from these great schools right out of their master's programs, and that's what everybody's hoping for, is to kind of escape Tunisia because they don't think that there's a lot of options for quality work and quality life there. If you make enough money there, you can have a great quality of life, but there's just not many opportunities, and really not many opportunities from America. So all of them would love to work for American companies, but there's just not really much of a connection. And so that's kind of where the idea kind of started from. I was running numbers in my mind, from what I found online on the average salaries and expectations and taxes and all the things that I would, need to consider, and just realized there's a huge opportunity to have really high level talent connected to U.S. companies. And so I pitched the idea to my friends, knowing that I'm an optimist. They had a lot of questions just to kind of make sure I was covering my bases, but they were happy to kind of partner with me in getting it started, and them being the presence then here in the States while I'm over in Tunisia, kind of starting the operations and making sure that it runs smoothly.
Wow, 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 wow. And how many years has that been?
Right now it's been 4. In October it'll be 4.
Fantastic. So you've gotten
Yeah.
through that early gully of startup and gotten into making this thing make sense. And sounds like
hmm
clientele are happy. So,
Yep.
so tell us about your company name. I mean, it's spelled one way, pronounced another. What's the story?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's
Yeah. So
pronounced the same.
yeah, core. Some part of it is just the concept of what core means. There's a lot of technical terms in IT related to core, like cores of a processor and things like that. But also just in the sense of the core elements of your business or the core parts of your team. We wanted to be something that was kind of loosely tied to at least the IT sphere, but then also the understanding that these are the most essential parts of your business, as your team members, the people that you've employed, and not even just talent necessarily, but even the culture fit. Because you can have a really talented individual, but they're just a really terrible team member. Interpersonally, they're awful, and that could destroy your team. And so we kind of wanted this all-encompassing idea of our company being a core element of other companies.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Very catchy as well as very clean. I like your logo also. In
Oh,
fact,
thanks.
anyone, everybody listening, check out the company in the link in the description, and comment on their LinkedIn that you've watched this interview. That information is embedded inside this YouTube channel, or wherever you're getting this at. Let's talk about the fact that we're going to talk personal again here.
Yeah.
Share a story where someone has pushed or inspired you that you could do it, that you could had an impact that had to happen, and now's the time to do it. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Man, that's a great question. Um, I think early on, this might be kind of double dipping into another part of our story, but one of the first hires we had, we were searching for an admin assistant, someone that was basically an executive assistant.
Mhm.
And we were getting 30 to 40 different applicants a day. We were flooded. And so we got to interview some really, really top people. And one of them had run a German company for a while. And after the interview, we realized this person should not be like an executive admin or something like that. She really should be like a general manager or operations manager. And just in the conversation we had, realized there were a lot of things we didn't know. So we hired her actually as our first hire to be the general manager of the company, to help us with all the paperwork and the legal stuff that were kind of ignorant to. But really early on, I think just working directly with her, she was really encouraging the need that was there in the country, and just the brilliance of bringing great talent to American clients, because there's just a huge opportunity there. There's really no other companies trying to do that from America, and everybody in Tunisia would love to work with an IT company from America. And so we would have the share of whoever we really wanted to try to bring on because of the desirability of an American company, but then also providing Tunisians the opportunity to work in their country and raise their families with their family and not have to leave, kind of bringing hope back to Tunisia. So she was actually just, having experience already running a company similar to ours, but for Germans, was one of our biggest cheerleaders in sharing the opportunities that we had in front of us and the success this company could have.
Wow, what a great story! And like you said, it was a good double dip as far as how the progress worked and as well in your favor. So, is she still with you?
Yeah, yeah, she's still with us. She was our first hire, and she's celebrating 4 years in October.
Congratulations, that's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So, whether it be from that or anything else that you've done now, having this under your control for the last 4 or so years, what's your biggest learning as a business owner?
Oh man, I think this is true of almost any business, but there's that startup phase. The first 2 years, I think, is a lot rougher than most people anticipate. Um, Even my partners, I think they had started different businesses and had some success early on that didn't lead them to some of the normal things I would say that most businesses face. But we're just trying to get something launched where clientele and reoccurring clients are integral in our success. And so there were many months where we had to recontribute some money to keep the thing floating, just because we were a brand new company. Our marketing was still getting figured out, sales was still getting figured out, and we had a lot of expenses, early on. And so I think I realized specifically certain companies really require a good buffer and an expectation that it might take a while before they move into the black or before there's enough success where you can kind of breathe a little more easily. But that was a really big one. Right now, I'm coaching Tunisians to be entrepreneurial and try starting their own businesses. But I'm telling them, and this is maybe more true for Tunisia, to not even try unless they have enough capital for the company to run without them drawing a salary for maybe 2 years, just because there's so many unexpected things that can happen. And again, it varies based on the business, but you can't need a salary day one, or it's going to be really troublesome for the company.
Yeah, that whether it be for Tunisians, I think also in the United States, that same mantra has to happen. I know there's some excitement about growing businesses quicker, maybe in the next 5 years or so, and I realize that the key is though you have to do it lean as well as aggressively and keep pivoting if you have to. So that's great insight. So we know that business success doesn't happen in isolation now, and you gave some idea that you're coaching on this. Tell us about your biggest challenge during the years and a fellow business owner who helped you through that.
Yeah. Man, I had a couple. I think one really big story. So this was kind of during one of our slumps, if you will. Like we were operating in the red, just kind of slowly losing money, but saw a lot of potential in our model if we could get in front of the right people and start building teams. And my partners' wives were kind of like, this is a slow drain right now. Do we want to keep contributing to this? And so they decided they're not going to keep contributing. I could acquire more equity as I kept contributing. And my wife also was like, is this kind of the time where we call it quits, And so I had a business mentor and partner, he's now a partner, but somebody that was just kind of speaking into my life and giving me wisdom on a lot of different elements in leadership and running a business. And he knew Qore, he knew the potential that it had, and he decided to contribute personally and buy in to be a partner to give us the buffer we needed to get past the slump. But I think just his belief in the model, belief in us running it, belief in me, and then also just like his desire to be a part of what we're doing was, I think, invigorating, and it re-excited my partners even to reinvest energy and time and thought into the business.
Yeah, I found that having a new player sometimes walk into the room and also bring in new energy sure makes the existing players more comfortable that they are doing the right thing. So congratulations on getting that successful initiative going. That's fantastic. So kind of in the same vein, I keep on going back to this whole idea of it's people that get business going as well as keep them going. If I asked you to pick 3 people in your business owner journey that you are most grateful for being there for your business's growth, who are they, and how How'd they help you?
Yeah.
You can give first names only if you don't want to give last names, but or you can recognize them on the podcast or whatever.
Yeah. I think one is Dave Hall. He's the partner I was mentioning earlier. I think he, even before he became a partner, was just giving really deep and valuable insight into running a business like that, leadership parts as well. And then I think he's continued to do that really well. He's a very busy guy. He's running a lot of different things, but he'll make our partners meetings and always have really good clarity on direction, really good clarity on what's important and what's not important. And I think saved us a lot of time from wasting time on things that are really not the big issues. He's really good at focusing on the big rocks, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
and doing that really well. I think another one would be probably one of my business partners, Eric. He was one of the very first ones to give us, you know, a job opening, a posting of something that he really needed, and kind of take a risk with an IT guy. And so he didn't really know much about Tunisian culture. He knew basically just from what I had shared with him, but he was kind of our first anchor client, if you will. I
Mm-hmm.
think that was really helpful to have something to test the model, somebody that had a little bit of grace because he knew we were just getting things figured out and just starting. But it was really helpful to have somebody kind of on the inside where we could hear customer feedback right from the get-go and make those tweaks along the way. I think that was really helpful. Um, yeah. I think one of our clients, if I could say that, he's almost
Yeah.
become a mentor of mine as well. He comes quarterly to Tunisia to visit his team. He's just been extremely helpful. His name's Taylor. He's been extremely helpful and encouraging on, focusing on really what we could do well, the areas we need to improve without being overly critical. Um, yeah, he's just been a really helpful wealth of knowledge as far as running a large operation. His operation is much bigger than ours, but has just made himself very available for those kinds of questions and feedback.
What industry Taylor in the sense of is he the marketing or is he's inside IT or where does he come from? Just curious when he makes this kind of trek and commitment to come to see you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Taylor, he runs CTech ERP software. And so it's out of Austin, Texas, their ERP software company. But he has a couple different offshore teams, and he's just really intentional about coming to visit his teams and meet with them like they're actual team members, to train them and have that personal touch relationship. But so, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible to have that person see the value as well as the respect you guys to being a shop that he wants to invest in too, psychologically as well as financially. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of change away from the people who inspired you right there to some degree, but at the same time, look at the future. So as you think about the next 1 to 3 years, what's your number one point of growth or challenge to achieve your goals?
Hmm. I think for us right now, the biggest one is like sales and marketing. Our space is kind of unique in that, traditional social media marketing does not work really well because we're, trying to get in front of business owners, or decision makers for small to mid-sized companies. And generally, you're not going to find them on social media. And so our sales and marketing strategies are constantly being reevaluated and redeveloped. I don't know if we've really hit the right stride there yet. A lot of our growth has come from word of mouth, or our network, which has worked, in the beginning stages. But as we look to continue to grow throughout the country, it needs to go beyond that. And so I think that's one of our bigger, hurdles to getting to where we want to be in the next year to 3 years, is just finding the best marketing and sales solutions to really get in front of the right people.
Yeah, try to work that funnel and how you get those leads in the funnel is challenging nowadays. You're right. Certain groups demographically are not there. You think they should be, but they aren't, and you can't be the one investing tens of thousands of dollars to go after a lead that's not going to be there anyway. So
Yeah.
that's challenging. Got it. So we kind of adopt an approach that one of our legendary business coaches named Jim Rome has taught us over the years, our organization. And Jim passed away the last couple of years, but the situation still sticks. We become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, is his
Yep.
belief. So as you think about that, what advice do you have for business owners who are trying to do it all on their own?
Oh yeah, I would say in most businesses that does not work. Even in smaller operations, I think surrounding yourself at least by people from the outside that can speak into the business is very worthwhile. I think you will naturally have blind spots. You'll naturally have some weaknesses in your company, and sometimes it's hard to really be honest about them if it's just you running the show. And so having trusted people that you could lean on for wisdom, advice, they don't even necessarily, like I said, have to be within the company. I think is essential, really, to especially those early stages where you're laying the foundation, because they'll probably have more experience and help you avoid some of those big mistakes early on to set you up for later success.
Got it. Got it. Yes, really good point. So Brady, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people who have helped you along your journey. What would you like to say to them?
Yeah, I think I mean, just thank you for committing to believing in us and working alongside of us, or contributing to ideas or critique. Um, I welcome critique in as much as I can. Um, and I really don't think we could have done it without the team that we have, the partners I have, the general manager that we hired on initially. I think the company would have crashed and burned probably within a year without partners and my general manager especially. And so, yeah, really, they're the ones that have fixed a lot of things, avoided a lot of the problems for us, spoken into things so that we have cleaner and more efficient operations. They're It's kind of like a natural think tank. When you have lots of people who have experience, you get better and better ideas rather than just using your own perspective.
Got it. Good point. Good point. So, Brady, it has really been a pleasure speaking with you today, and thank you for being on our show.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here with you.